Have you ever been stuck on bottom, helpless, guy on top's got double boots in, ripping your shoulder off with a power half, and you're just praying, please let this match be over? Or you've tried leg riding yourself only to get reversed? Well, in this video, I'm gonna be showing you the truth behind the most misunderstood position in the sport of wrestling, leg riding. First thing we're gonna start off with is the offensive side and defensive side of putting your legs in. There are a lot of different ways to get legs in. Some of the key concepts I'm trying to do though is get weight on my opponent's hands. All right, the biggest thing I need to be aware of is getting my leg caught once I go to throw a leg in. So if I'm not putting pressure on the hands and say I just go to throw my right boot in and he catches it, well, it's very obvious you're gonna get reversed from that position. Sometimes you can throw the boot in super deep and trap their arm, but in general, you're gonna get reversed from that position. What it might look like is this, where I go to throw a boot, I end up falling off the top and getting reversed there. So the first way I like to throw a boot in is from a claw spiral, and it's just by putting weight on the hands. So my left hand, instead of going around the shoulder, is gonna reach all the way deep around the neck, and we call this a claw position. I wanna dip my shoulder as low as possible so that when I come back up, I'm really pulling that neck, almost like I'm choking him out. Right hand goes on the thigh in a spiral position, and I'm gonna drive up on my feet, on my toes here. From this position, we can either throw our right boot in, or we can throw our left boot in. Face the camera real quick. So, one thing I want you guys to really understand is watch how I come straight on top of them. So if I'm going deep claw, spiral, I'm not driving on the side here. I'm getting up on top, directly on top. I do no shift here. Directly on top, driving my feet forwards. I'm like a backpack on them. From here, we can throw a right boot in or a left boot in or both. Any thoughts with that technique?
Yeah, another tip with that is getting the hips in front of the knees. So if I go to hit this claw with the thigh pry, if I have weight, stay low. If I have weight on the hands, like I'm pushing weight on the hands, but his hips are not in front of his knees, it's still very difficult to sneak a leg in. If I go to throw a leg in here, he can catch it, or even if I do get the leg in, I'm not really in great position. So as I'm driving forward, I want those hips in front of the knees, and it buys me more time to get my legs in. So off the whistle, I may go claw, thigh pry, driving forward. I'm getting his hips in front of his knees. From here, I can sneak that boot in, or if you like throwing the right leg in, same as well. So I'm trying to get weight on the hands, hips in front of the knees. And that will save you from a lot of throwing legs in at the wrong time and getting in bad position.
Yeah. Next one, tilts. Tilts are great ways to get legs in. It's normally when people are fighting off their back. The biggest problem though that people run into when throwing legs in from a tilt position is they don't attempt the tilt strong enough. They don't actually try to turn them with a tilt, so it's pretty obvious they're just trying to throw a leg in. So make sure if you're going for a tilt and you're using it to throw a leg in, really try to turn him here, because you need them fighting hard to their stomach in order to get that leg in. And what you'll notice is the way the leg comes in is I'm tilting here, so I need to be in the correct tilt position. If my leg is down over here and he goes to stomach, I won't be able to throw the leg in. So my knee needs to be underneath of him here. And then as he bellies out, I just straighten my leg like this, and he ends up landing with my leg in between. Once he goes to his stomach, I normally keep the wrist hand. So the right hand, in this case, stays on the wrist, and take my left hand out and post if I need to come on top. This can be done from any type of tilt, roll through tilts, 2-on-1 tilts. Any thoughts with that as well?
Yep, some guys will do it from a cheap tilt or a tight waist chop. So this I'm not gonna drive forward as much. I almost kind of pull him into my lap. So off the whistle, I'm blocking with my knee, chop, get him to his elbow, and I'm just holding here. I have much less control with this versus a 2-on-1, but it's the same concept. I'm here, I'm scooting, he goes to flail out, leg comes in, and from here, when I get my hips up on top, I post my knee wide. So I get my hips up on top, and my left knee is posted wide so I don't get put to my hip. Show a different angle.
And I would say that's the biggest problem when they go to that tilt position, is me keeping you on your hip.
So I'm here, I'm scooting underneath. As he bellies out, I start to work my hips up on top, and this knee flails out so that I don't get put down to my hip. Another little trick here, this is a very common position. Like I get my leg in and this leg is up. If this leg is up and I don't want it up, I'll take my elbow and run it to the center of his knee. I'm not, drop my elbow. I'm not like elbowing, but I push my elbow into his leg and get him to straighten that leg out. There's a little nerve that runs kind of down the center of your leg. When you find that, they'll typically shoot their leg straight.
Yeah, and we're not gonna go over every way necessarily to get a leg in, but we're gonna show you some of these examples, okay? Crab ride is another opportunity to throw a leg in, very similar to a tilt, but you're more pulling them straight on top of you. So instead of getting to that T position like we do for a tilt, a crab ride is more straight on top of your back here. Okay, he's laying directly on top of me here, and we can use our arms to essentially open up the space between his legs and his hands to throw either leg in here, okay? And the big thing or the big concept you're gonna see with throwing legs in, and even controlling when you have the legs in, is controlling the space, I guess turn this way, controlling the space between here. If I can control the space between here, with my hands normally, I can throw the legs in, okay? So if I'm pulling to that crab ride, whatever might be a claw, pulling them to here, because my hand's underneath his armpit, I can elevate that arm up, making it easy to throw that boot in. And I think that's a big concept to really understand, especially when we go into deep defending legs. They control this space either with their legs or with their arms. Very tough to reverse them.
And with this, you'll find that if you're a leg rider, you'll gravitate more towards one of these techniques. You want to know them all, but typically you'll find one that you like, and you'll find different ways to get there. If you don't like going crab ride, you definitely don't have to use this one. Or if you don't really love the tilt and being on your hip, you don't have to go there either. But you've got to find a way to get legs in if you're a leg rider. Usually you want to know them all, but you want to master one of them, whether it's tilts, crab ride, claw. I think the safest is going to be staying inside the armpits here, controlling the space, and looking to get his hips in front. Although there's still a threat of leg counters when you throw legs in from base. I think if you're going to throw legs in from base, this is where I like to be. So I use my knee to help control that space. Knee, whether I'm doing a short hook, claw, I'm trying to control the space so I can sneak that leg in at the right time. You'll find most people who throw legs in typically throw them in at the wrong time. And if I'm the top wrestler here, I don't want to be throwing legs in out of panic. I want to make sure I get the guy to a bad position, and it buys me some time to throw the leg in and get myself to good position before he has a time to reverse.
Yeah, and I think the best time to throw a leg in is going to be from flat. Even the tilts is an okay time, but the tilt, a lot of times, like, this will happen. So if you tilt me and you throw a leg in from here, I'm keeping you here, all right? Like, if a leg comes in from a tilt, I'm going to keep you here, and you're going to have to wrestle from here, which is an okay position, but it's not as good as me being flat on my stomach, right?
Yeah.
So I would say the best way to throw a leg in is from flat. Well, how does that happen? I think from takedowns is probably the best. So if I hit a double leg on my opponent here, I drive him to his hip. The key thing is don't stay low. So I guess turn that way. Don't stay low on the legs. Once you finish these takedowns, start climbing up to almost like a claw or a crossface, which allows your legs to be in position to just scoop the leg in. Okay, and this happens from a lot of different positions, but I like it from the double leg. Not sure if you have any other times you throw legs in, maybe from a takedown.
So what I'm looking for is, we call it like the TV position. So I'm looking for this guy to be on his hip, chilling out like he's watching TV. This is the position I'm looking for in order to get a leg in. Not to say this is the only time, but this is probably the best time or the safest time to throw a leg in. Right here, I can sneak a leg in, and I already have him on his hip, so I'm kind of halfway into a turn. I typically like throwing my left leg in, so I would want him on this far hip, whether I go knee tap here, sneak that leg in, rotate so they can see. Right, I'm going claw, maybe he's leaning to fight it, knee tap, drive. Now I have a leg in, And typically I want to actually get him to his shoulder as well if I can. So I'm looking for that TV position, however it develops, whether it's from a takedown, whether it's from top bottom. I want to get him on one hip, ideally on his hip and shoulder if you can. But if I get him on his hip here, it's much harder for him to defend, and you're halfway into probably the most common term, which is a hip whip. So you want to get him in bad position, that TV position, and that's typically where I'm going to throw a leg in.
Yeah, and then the last one I want to go over before we go over kind of how to prevent these legs from coming in is from the flat position. Okay, so my partner's flat in his stomach. I actually use this a lot because I did what's called a bow and arrow. But I would wrestle with one leg in the middle, one leg on the outside. From here, what I'm doing is I'm scooping a Western hook and bending his knee this way. Okay, so the way I'm doing it is, it's tough to, I mean, I can spend like 20 minutes on this one move. Left knee, right on his knee. Right leg that's in between is gonna go up high and step back here. That locks his leg in place. In order for him to defend this position, he'll have to crawl forward, but I'll post on his hip to not allow him to crawl his body forwards. But if he did crawl his body forwards, it'll allow him to straighten this leg out, okay? From here, I'll grab the shoelaces, I'll start picking it up, and then my foot on the outside is just gonna swivel in like this, as high up into, we call it the underwear line, right, as high up into the hip as possible though, right here, boom. Then that foot goes on top. I normally go to that figure 4 position. I'll go put your leg flat again. If, as I go do this, some people will keep their leg really stiff, you'll end up here as well. So either you're getting a leg in no matter what. Either you're going here, picking it up, foot swivels in, figure 4, or you go to lift the leg up, but they keep their leg stiff, and you end up just pulling it over top here, come up, leg as high up in the underwear line as possible, knee flared out, this knee pointing in that direction. Any other thoughts with that?
Yeah, same for me. This was my favorite way to get a leg in. I think it's very, very hard to stop, and it's safe compared to throwing a leg in from your base. And so go ahead and go flat. I typically, same exact idea, one knee to the inside, one to the outside, blocking at his hip or his knee, depending on how you're trying to hit this technique. But a lot of times, like a real good wrestler may know you ride legs and may know what you're trying to do here. And what Evan mentioned with if he straightens his leg, still being able to get it in. I like to try and distract with my hands on the upper body and then kick the leg up. So I'm gonna have a lot of weight up on his, kind of high on his back. I'm not falling over the top, but I've got weight on his upper body here. And I'm gonna work his face here. So I'm gonna take my knuckle from my thumb and work under his nose. I'm gonna work attacking his hands. I'm gonna work crossface. I'm trying to distract him, making him think I'm looking for wrist control. As I do this, I go heel to butt, reach back and catch. From here, I just run forward, lifting his knee up high, flare that same leg in. So if you're finding that you're trying to hit this and it's not working, practice distracting him with whatever you're doing, attacking the hands, whether I'm feeding outside, whether I'm walking my hands forward like this, whether I'm going crossface. Distract him with your hands upper body so that he doesn't really know what you're looking for. There it is. And it's just, for this one, heel to butt, catch the laces. And now I drive forward, pulling his leg in between mine. So I'm lifting his knee up off the mat and sliding my leg as high as possible so I can get a good solid leg in and keep a lot of weight on top of him there.
Yeah, and I think one thing you'll notice if you even just rewind that little piece, that I did it slightly different than Steven as far as the way I locked the hip out. And I would say, if you're still having trouble, go flat. If you're still having trouble getting the leg up, so if you like this method of just flicking here and you're still having trouble, like maybe you tried it once so that and he kicked free and he knows. If you do it, I gotta circle this way real quick. If you do it with just your legs like this, so my knee here, if I go like this and high leg back this way first, it's very difficult for him to straighten that leg out. I don't know if that makes a difference for you. So like, and I'll tell you this much, I did what's called a bow and arrow more than just leg in, but I could get people's foot. And a lot of times if I came here and it didn't, they straightened out, it didn't end up working, I go almost like a crossbody ride and just go here. And then if he, obviously, see his leg straight, he's already defending that. That's easy, the leg comes in. And then if his leg was bent, that locks in place. And normally I'm doing actually a different move. I'm coming up here and taking him over his head, which is illegal in high school. But so we didn't go over necessarily every single way to get that leg in, but we did go over a couple different methods, especially our favorite ones, getting him to the hip from like a takedown or a spiral, right? Getting him to this position, throwing the top leg in, and then in general, getting him flat and working this back foot flick, right? Back bow and arrow type thing to get the leg in, okay? Now we're gonna go on preventing them from getting the legs in the first place. Yes, we're gonna go over reversals later. We're gonna give you guys, like I said, some of those juicy secrets, all right, to leg riding. But for now, we gotta prevent them. And if we can prevent the legs from coming in, we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to worry about the leg reversals, all right? So my biggest thing, if I know someone's doing legs, I let them throw it in and I reverse them because I'm better at it. It doesn't matter. But if I don't want the legs to come in, it's about controlling that space like we talked about. So if my opponent's on top of me and they're doing a good job, say go claw spiral and trying to drive me forwards, I'm not letting this happen. My hips aren't gonna come up. Like, drive so hard that my hips come up, keep my feet up, you see that? Like, I won't allow my heels to come off my butt. I will keep my heels glued to my butt. So even if my hips do come up, my feet are coming up too. Does that make sense to you guys? I don't know if that makes sense for you too.
Yeah.
I'm not allowing this to happen. I need to stay more closed here. I need this space right here to be very small. All right? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, and like what we were saying before, if you can really think of less about the technique and more about the specific technique, more about the positionings, it will help you both understand the offense and the defensive side. And typically people who are good at leg counters ride legs because they understand what that top guy's looking for. And with this, like, you know, the first tip was get weight on the hands, right? First tip was get weight on the hands. Second one was getting the hips in front of the knees. So he's looking to get me here. So all of my energy is to prevent this position. And the more I can do that, the more difficult it is for him to throw a leg in. And if he does throw a leg in at the wrong time, I have a much better chance at getting out, preventing, or getting reversal. So another thing here is going to be controlling. The other thing is he's trying to control this space between my armpits and my legs. So he's trying to control this space. So think the opposite. If I'm the bottom guy, I want to control this space. And sometimes that might mean, we typically don't teach to attack the hands, but sometimes that might mean attacking the hands quickly and then isolating here. If I can isolate this one side, it's much, much harder for him to throw a leg in, or same the other. If I peel this hand out and isolate here, very hard for him to throw a leg in. Typically, I like to isolate the side that he's on. So if he's pressuring forward, I'm sitting low, I'm trying to get him to slide off. I may push the hand out. I'm not going to grab and hold for long here. I'm pushing the hand out, blocking with my elbow. Now I'm wrestling from this position, with my elbow almost glued to my quad or even up to my pocket. So I'm playing the game of fighting for this inside control. And then if I get here, maybe I do this as well. You know, that might be a lot to try and get against a real good wrestler controlling both sides. But think offensively, I want to get weight on the hands. I want to get the hips in front of the knees. And I want to control the space between the armpits. So defensively, I'm trying to win those same battles. I'm trying to keep my hips from going in front of my knees by pushing back hard with my hands and sitting low. I'm trying to control the space between the armpits, which you have to be, this is where you'll get in the most trouble, is just grabbing and holding. He will, if he's good, he knows I'm looking to do that, so he'll bait you. So really be cautious. Like if I'm go kind of tough on top here, if I'm in here, it's quick. Oh, here. And I usually will collapse my chest a little bit and wrestle from this forearm until I feel good. Now I can rotate up or whatever you decide to do for bottom. So it's the same battles. You're trying to win those same battles offensively and defensively. And to prevent the legs from coming in, if you are not very good on bottom, if you just focus on winning those three battles, however you do it, it will prevent him from throwing legs in, or it'll force him to throw legs in at the wrong time. and make it so much easier for you to get a reversal or to get out on bottom.
Yeah, and I want to go over tripod real quick because we believe tripod inside leg stand-up is the #1 escape that our wrestlers should be doing unless, you know, somehow new moves are invented and they work better later on. Sealing off is going to be very important. So just like Steven was saying, when I do my tripod stand-up, if I do a quad pod where both hands stay on the mat and I can just kind of rotate like this, way too easy for the leg to come in. Now, if he's not a leg rider, I won't really worry too much about that. But if he is a leg rider, I'm going to do more of this type of stand-up. So my hands are going to come here, but I'm going to come here. So my hand's going to try to seal off. Now, even beat me on the inside like a spiral. So it might be like this, but I know if I can have this elbow, I actually rest it a lot of times on the lower part of my, like right above my knee there. I know this is not enough space for a leg to come in. But if I leave my hands here and I go more that quad pod position, you're definitely gonna get your legs thrown in. So even if he beat me on the inside, keeping that space close, it doesn't matter. They're not gonna slip their leg in and their arm in when you have like just a couple inches there. So if you're doing that inside leg stand up, be more here instead of here to prevent that leg from coming in.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, this really comes down to whoever's better in that position. So if you're finding like, oh, it's not working for me, well, maybe you have to spend a little more time in that position, learning how to seal off, learning how to keep your weight back on your hips. And it's going to take time to develop this. I think if you're a stronger wrestler, this bottom position can be much easier. If you're like super long and lanky and not very strong, this bottom position can be a little bit tougher for you. So your positioning has to be even better. Some guys who are really strong, it's like they can mess up a little bit and still get out with ease just because they have a lot of strength. But again, this battle is positioning, and this is whether you're defending legs or just trying to get out. These are the battles you're trying to fight, and if you can focus on these, I'm not going to say you have to throw everything else out the window, but you have to worry so much less about leg counters, about defending bars, about other things if you can keep good position. Now, it's not always the case, but that's what you're looking to do on bottom.
Yeah. And now going into a little bit of if they try to use the tilt or the crab ride position and the flat position. We'll go over those three pretty quick. But the same concept is throughout all of these preventions, staying in this position, staying in a ball, not getting extended. So if Steven goes to go in the tilt position, one thing I just want to explain with this, when I'm here, I am not extending myself and flailing to the mat here. I am staying in a tight ball, pushing the knee that's up, and sliding my hips off here. Now I may extend if I have to really get off my back, but once I beat this leg, once I push on that knee and slide my hips off, there's no shot he's gonna throw that leg in. Some people will try and throw the top leg in as well, not as common. Just block, right? Block, control the space, push on that bottom knee, and come to your base there. Okay, and a lot of times I'll actually come back in the opposite way for a reversal there.
I'm not sure when you get pop all the way back to your base. And if he creates space there, it's very hard for me to follow. Like if I go to throw the bottom leg in, it's not there. Like I'll walk you through it, right? So now reality is like this is me actually being able to get some sort of tilt. He may with Evan's positioning, he may stop it in the first place. Like I may go like this and it's just not there at all. But if you do get caught, like I'm trying to throw a bottom leg in first, he's blocking that. He's holding position. If I get greedy and now try to throw the top leg after, like I'm in like, oh crap, I really got to get my legs in. I go to throw the top leg in. He's already in position to block it. He can either turn in and go for a reversal. Go all the way through. Yeah. He can turn and go reversal if that's where you feel comfortable. Or he can swing all the way up and get out. So I go here. He swings up. He creates the space, and he's out. And you'll have to go through this video and pick the ones that fit your wrestling best with where it is. And some of these may depend on how good the guy is at leg riding. Like if this guy's really good at leg riding, you may be like, okay, let me just get out and get to my feet. If you feel confident going for reversals, nothing wrong with that too. It totally depends on what you like to do from these positions.
Yeah. Now moving on to crab ride. In general, I like to stay in a tight ball, but there are 2 options, okay? So if I get pulled into the crab ride position, I'm gonna stay in that tight ball, like the heels to butt, everything, it's all the same thing here. All right, now I know when he goes to like take me to a side or whatever, if I stay in a ball, I know I'll find my way back to my base. There's also the crab ride reversals. I don't think we're gonna really go into that right now because we're not really dealing with the crab ride, but if I stay in that tight ball and control the space, all right, if I get extended, the legs are for sure going in, I'm probably getting pinned. Okay, so that's option 1, stay in a tight ball. All right, I'll show you quick what I like to do for my reversal. I guess take me one way, either way. Post, I like hopping out here. That's my favorite reversal. Second option I have, which I think is more risky because you'll get yourself extended, okay? First, clear your legs and go down here, okay? So if you can slide down here, you'll be in a good position. Even if he throws a leg in, he'll be in a really bad position once I turn in. So those are my 2 options from crab ride. I don't know if you have
And from
anything
there,
else.
you gotta get me in this position. From here, again, the battles are the same, right? He wants to control my hips and my weight here. He wants to control the space between my hands and my arms. So you can, to prevent it, like Eben said, I can step my legs out. If you feel good with hand fighting here, elbows tight, I can attack, win these hand fighting positions. I can scoot low, turn into attacks. I can go here and scoot my butt over, so I can step over here or turn into the legs and finish. But the battles are the same. So if me and Eben are wrestling, I pull him into a crab ride, it's very important he stays calm. If he gets in a panic and goes, oh, and is overwhelmed by that position and reaching where he shouldn't be reaching, makes it much easier for me to wrestle. So if I like this crab ride position, I'm pulling him there to get him to panic a little bit. If he panics, I'm gonna get a set of backs. If he stays calm, maybe I get a leg in. If his defense is good and he's winning those positions, he may get out or get a reversal. So when I get into this position, I want to control his hips. I want to control the space. Like, even notice where his arm position is. Like, I don't really have much control here. What I really want is I want to get him extended. And maybe my legs are hooked here. I'm looking to get him extended so I can just lean off to a side and get a quick set of backs. But he's winning this position. Even though he's not attacking my hands, he's making it very hard. Like, I don't have much of a reach here. I can't go claw. My shoulder hooks aren't really there. So he's winning this hand fighting position, and then he'll start winning with the legs. And then if I pick a side, he goes in to get a reversal. And we've both been wrestling for a while. And so as we throw this at you, you may not in the beginning feel comfortable in that crab ride position. So in a match, don't wrestle there. Block, get back to your base. If you feel very comfortable there, you may look for a reversal. So this totally depends on where you are at with your wrestling now, and then developing these positions so you feel better later. Right now, you might not feel comfortable in that crab ride position. After drilling this some, you might be like, oh, I feel good and I'm looking for a reversal. That's fine. But know where your wrestling is now, so when you go to compete, you don't want to be just hitting these moves that you haven't really drilled much and you know you're not that good at it. Be like, I'm just going to go for it anyway. Like, be smart in your wrestling in terms of knowing where you're good, knowing where you have the advantage, and wrestling in those positions. If you're not good here, don't sit here and challenge the guy. If Eben's not good in this position, don't sit here and be like, oh, I'm looking for a reversal when you know you're not good here. If you feel good and you can win these positions, absolutely challenge them. Because what will happen is if I get put in a panic, like if I got him to here and I'm not winning any of these positions, I know, like, uh-oh, this is going to be some sort of scramble. So I might panic and start taking him to a side. Now all of a sudden he's looking for his reversals, and we're in a scramble at that point.
Yeah, and I would say if you're not good at crab riding, definitely don't use it as your way to get a leg in, because it's a very technical position, very difficult position offensively to understand. A lot of people ask me about what series I should choose on top. Should I do leg riding? Should I be tilt? What do you think about crab riding? My opinion on crab riding is it's very difficult to be good at it technically. It works the highest level just like any technique might, but what I normally see, even worse than leg riding, is people get reversed more. So leg riding, people are afraid to do leg riding because they get reversed, and it takes time to get good at it. Well, I think crab riding is even another level because it really doesn't have much control. I also think crab riding is not as versatile as leg riding. where you don't have as many options. You really just are going like a half Nelson or a bar from that position. I know it's not really what we're talking about, but
Yeah.
I don't know if you think similar.
Yeah, it's the same. Again, you got to know yourself. You got to know your style of wrestling. You don't have to be good everywhere to be good at wrestling, but you've got to know your positions and pick and choose. If you're someone who's super flexible, maybe you feel comfortable pulling to the crab ride. I would say if you're someone who's super flexible, the bottom side of this position can give you a huge advantage in terms of giving yourself a chance on top. Like if Ebbet's got good flexibility and he's really good on top, he may be like, oh, why would I, and I'm beating him, on our feet. He may not want to go back to our feet. He may be looking for a reversal to give himself another chance on top. And in my opinion, if you're looking for reversals, leg defense is probably the best way to get reversals because it puts me in such a bad position. And if he sets it up correctly, a guy who doesn't ride legs may throw a leg in, and now they're really in a whole lot of mess.
Yeah, I hear people, the funniest thing, because I think it's really ridiculous, wrestlers will say, I don't like leg riding, but I'll use it when I need to ride the person out with short time left. Or I'll use it when nothing else works. You're gonna put yourself in the most dangerous position that you aren't that good at with short time left, and then they get reversed all the time.
Yeah.
So it's like, people will throw legs in with short time left. They're not very, they don't know yet. They're ignorant, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, last thing, from flat, how do I defend legs? Biggest thing with this that you're gonna notice is I'm not reversing him in this position. So that's why we said it's one of the safest positions. I can defend a leg coming in, but I'm not reversing him in the crab ride. We'll show you later if they throw a leg at him from the base, how you can get reversals. You're really just preventing it. So what I normally am gonna do is I'm gonna have to go the opposite direction. So if he's riding over top of my left leg, and I can try basing up, hands kind of wide, elbows somewhat wide, a little bit further than shoulder width apart. I start coming up, but if I know he's throwing a leg in, he's probably gonna be able to slip that boot in. So if I know that's coming, what I'll normally have to do is I'll have to slide to almost a sit-out position. So I have my right hip up, I'm gonna slide here, this knee through, and the one thing I do have to be careful of is some people will go that tight waist, like tilt type thing here. As you go to do it, you are very vulnerable to that. That's why I'll either go right to my base, but I actually like throwing it straight to the sit-out position. Even if you don't like sit-outs, you can be here, then go back to your base. But what it does is it prevents them from, like if you go, like I think it's a great combo for a leg rider. Somebody goes like this, starts coming here, you can bring them right to that tilt position. Now they go to belly out, and I have the leg in. So I'm really going all the way through if I can. So I know if I need to come through here. Because if my legs get in front of me, I'm in a good position, I can get back to my base. I'm not sure if you have any other thoughts, if you knew someone was a leg rider.
And again, this depends on where you feel good and your strengths. I typically will go and get on top. I a lot of times will try and win some of the hand fighting positions. Like if I know he's trying to throw a leg in, I'll try and seal off the side he's on, and then I'll connect my knee, my elbow to my knee or even to my hip. So I'll start rotating in and going here. So I'm doing like the same thing I do from base, but from here. Now, he's gonna probably start ripping at my face, so you have to be prepared for that. But from here, I'm gonna push into him and bring my knee under, and I stay really low. I do not pop up to a base right away if he's a good leg rider. I like to drop my chest and bring my stomach through my legs so that it shrinks the space. So like it shrinks the space for him to throw legs in. So I'm in this position, sealing off as I come up. And again, this depends on where you feel comfortable. So if he's on top here,
I go sideways a little bit.
He's on top. Go ahead and kind of wrestle a little bit here. He's wrestling. I'm sealing here, up, and I'm staying super low. If I come up a little bit, drive leg in or drive forward more, he might catch that wrist. Now, that leg's probably gonna get in, and it's gonna get in good position. So I like to seal off the same side. It takes a lot of energy, like physically wise. It's much harder because I'm going against where his pressure is. But I found that it works pretty solid for me. And some guys even like trap and hook, like a knee in, foot out here. They may go here, or even like with the shoelace, like this, like shoe on the back of the calf. Here, some guys will do this type of stuff. And so this can be, again, this is very hard. sometimes you can just kind of brute force, like work in it and just push, 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 and stay super low because he's already got his knee in good position. If I come up, he's going to get it. So I'm staying low, get my knees under me, and then from here I'm going to work my tripod stand up.
Yeah. All right, one last thing before we move on to actually getting a leg in. Little tip that I like to do. I'm not a leg rider, but if anybody gets in your base, I dealt with this a lot because I did one-on-ones. So people did this to me a lot too. Seal off there. This happened to me a lot. So turn a little bit more. This is my trick I use to still get this inside control position. So if I got beat here and I can't get here, this is what I do. I go one-on-one. I try to put his hand, keep the seal like,
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so I try to put the hand on the mat. I dig my knee through and put his hand here. And then now I know once I let go, even if he comes back, there's enough space for me to get my hand through. So that's a little technique I would do to get that knee in front. And, you know, obviously not one-on-one might not matter to you now, but you may need a one-on-one to get the tilt, to throw the leg in, or you may just need to get that space to drive forwards and throw your boot in, all right? Now we're gonna be moving on to, so we're gonna be going over one leg in from base, hip, and flat, and then double boots, okay? So first we're gonna deal with one leg in from the base position. There's two general ways people throw a leg in. They're either gonna go crossbody, where the leg goes all the way through and wraps around. If you see my foot over on this side right here, wraps around the heel, and my elbows come into the side here. Second option is a short boot, where your toe is in the center of the legs, you're riding directly on top of his hips, and normally your back foot is hooked on his ankle, on his shoe, like laces to laces. My knee is covering the hip, and I'm riding, if you notice, directly on top. Face one more time forwards. I am not going like this. No falling off to the side. I'm directly on top, and my knee is almost still trying to point out in that direction. One thing I just want to say about this, I think more people are going to this ride because it's physically easier to reverse the person the further my hip is to the mat here. So when I go crossbody ride, my hip gets closer to the mat, and that's where pretty much all the reversals are gonna happen. So I think nowadays people are going to that short boot, riding on top, breaking them flat. One little thing I do see though for the crossbody, I wrestled a lot of high-level guys that did this crossbody, so turn a little bit. They really use this foot as a back, I think of like a rudder. I don't know why, like a boat, kind of like it moves, right, to change directions. But if he goes to hit me down, I see a lot of this. Really using this foot to drive back and stay on top. Second thing I think that's very important if you decide to go crossbody is staying low on the hips. This is where the mistakes happen. If you like to go crossbody, this is where the mistakes happen, where they ride up high and then they fall off this opposite or the same side shoulder here.
Yeah.
Thoughts on just those two, I guess?
Yeah, you'll see a lot of, I think you'll see a lot of crossbody ride at the youth level, and then as you get up at higher levels, I think there's less of it, a lot of short boot, a lot of legs in when a guy's flat. I typically will do this. If you're gonna ride legs here, I highly recommend the short boot with that heel between his legs here, like on my toe. A little bit. Back leg, I like to do, so Ebbet's showing here, where you're kind of almost, it's similar position as if I had two legs in. I a lot of times will go knee under the butt and almost fall off over at his arm. Like I want as much weight over there as possible, like this. So this is how, if I'm gonna ride a short boot, this is how I like to ride it. Again, I'm gonna make sure my hip's not sliding off. So if I'm gonna go on top, I have to have that back hook similar to throwing two legs in. If I'm gonna look for the short boot I drape as much over this arm as possible. On this toe, similar with that rudder, that back leg is posted on the mat here to help me drive. And I go between attacking the hand and attacking the ankle. I typically attack, lift, and flare out to get him to start turning his hip down. I go hip whip. And then if you've got flexible hips, you'll see a lot of guys wrestling here, attacking this, and when he goes to hit me down, looking for this cradle. So that can be a great series. But if you're gonna throw legs in from base, That's where you see most reversal, so your positioning really has to be good. Whatever you decide, if you do go crossbody, which I typically don't recommend, although it does work, I don't think it's quite as effective for a long stretch of time. Youth level, it works very, very good, but I haven't seen a lot of people like, you know, at the high national level that do it. Although it does work, I think it's not quite as good for use of time on top as a short boot or as throwing a leg in when he's flat.
Yeah, and I think like the biggest thing that you don't really see, turn this way a little bit, people will go crossbody with a short boot, if that makes sense. Like, their body can be crossed. It's really the short boot that I really like even more than just the idea of being crossbody. The thing that I don't like too much of is the full reach in and wrap around. Okay, and the reason behind this is there's not, the options to turn from here are limited, and they actually I don't think are very good. Okay, for example, here's the options I have from here, because we're gonna go into some of the different turns. I'm not gonna go into crazy detail. We're gonna go into the different turns we can do from this base position. If I wrap my foot around, which is the method that we think is not as good but still works, we have banana split. All right, banana split, you see people grabbing the heel or the shoelaces, pulling up and locking the wrist together, or if he's in a tripod position, you can go, you know, different grips, S grip, gable grip behind the knee, but you're essentially pulling him over his head and you're stretching out his legs pretty much in the opposite direction, but you're also pushing weight this way onto his shoulder blades, right, to get the pin. Sometimes people will hook their foot if they feel this leg is slipping free, but if you hook the foot, you can't pressure back in with this leg to get the pin. Personally, I mean, think about it. It happened in the Nationals, and it was the biggest news ever. It's because it doesn't really happen. You know what I mean? The banana splits, I mean, realistically, you can stall out, I think, pretty easily by just staying in a strong base. So I think that's really the tough thing, is just getting that. Other thing that you see people do from this position is a guillotine. Again, you do not see this at a very high level. But all I'm doing for the guillotine, I'm scooping the elbow, grabbing the wrist, I'm pulling the wrist over the back of my head, I'm leaning head up, chest up, bringing him back, grabbing the top of the head, locking, pushing my hips in, and getting the pin here. As you notice, his arms across my back as well here. But kind of going through that, I think the short boot, so besides those two, where you actually have to lace, every other move can be done with the short. For example, let's run into some of the ones I think are even better. Guillotine's very difficult to get. So when I go guillotine, people always put their hand on their thigh, because it's so easy to stop this position. Very hard to get the arm out on the back. So some of the moves I think that are better is a ball and chain tilt. So my free hand reaches underneath, grabs the wrist. My hand that went for the guillotine, the right one in this case, slides up so the hand is on the back of the elbow, and my elbow goes into the back of his spine as I drive back and get the turn here. The reason why I can do this with a short boot is because I actually don't need this leg even in. I can tilt from here. So it doesn't matter if I had that necessarily laced or not, wrapped around or not, you can still get this turn, okay? Another turn from here. If you like arm bars, you go for the same position here. They put their hand there. Maybe you can't reach for that ball and chain. I lock my hands together, I pull up, I throw the bar in. Now I have a bar, I can go bar tilt, I can go bar half. Okay, I have a whole arm bar video on all these as well. Goes into detail on that. But, so those two I think are really well, but if we look at one of the best turns, I think it's what Steven was really going towards. I think that series, cradles, hip whips are, in my opinion, the best ones to go from even the base position. The reason being is this. If I have a leg in, right, I'm going that short boot, riding over top of this angle, because I'll do the same thing that Steven was saying with that hook. I think riding over at this side is very, very key. If for some reason Steven rotates his left leg up, all right, which you don't see happen very often, but I can go for my hip whip, where I figure four, I push my hips in, I take the head, think of it like a football, like I'm a running back, I turn the face into me. We'll go into more detail on that. And then if they ever rotate the other leg up, so I'm riding here, if for some reason they rotate this leg up, I can go cradle. And the reason why it's better to cradle with a short boot in versus you know, having that leg all the way wrapped around to the crossbody is, watch this, turn this way. If I go and wrap my leg all the way around, this is what happens a lot of times when people go cradle. They get their lock and it's way where my lock ends up being where his knee is, which we don't want when we do a cradle. But if I go short boot, so I take my leg out, I go a little shorter, I can bring my hips up higher. Now when I go to cradle, my back of my elbow can go behind the back of his knee, and I can lock in the correct position. From here, I drive over the top shoulder, take my leg out, and end up here. I guess I'll let you kind of go over anything from that position, but we're going for turns from the base.
Yeah, that's, for me, it's really, with leg riding with that short boot, it's exactly the 2 moves Ebba just went over. Short boot. And obviously, like, there's a lot of different setups, whether it's attacking the legs, attacking the hands, whatever the case may be. But I'm really taking them 2 different directions. I either take them to the right, whether I attack the ankle and flare, whether I attack the hand and peel, and now he doesn't have that post. I'm taking him to the right to look for my hip whip, and his main defense for that is getting me to my hips, whether I attack the hand or I attack the ankle. Like, I'm trying to take him to the right here. He drives back the opposite direction. There's my cradle. And again, once I get the cradle, there's different ways to finish. But for now, we're just driving him over that post, take the leg out, and finish. And there's a lot of little tricks. Like, I'll just show one, for example. Rotate here. I learned this in college. My coach went over this a lot, where you catch this, I get this cradle, and I'm trying to drive, but this guy's really strong. You back hook this ankle and flare the ankle out, and that starts to turn his hips. Now I get the cradle. So if you're gonna hit these techniques, really master all aspects of it, setups, getting there, different finishes. But this video is really about, you know, the leg riding techniques, getting legs in, but also preventing and how do we counter, and knowing the 2 of these together. And then you'll have to go and really build on your system a little bit more for, like, how do I attack the hands versus the ankle? But the concept is, what is the top guy looking for with legs? And then what is the bottom guy looking for with reversals and positioning wise?
Yeah, and again, I think if you were a leg rider, you have a leg in from the base, my personal opinion, focus on hip whip, bring him to the hip, cradle, and I think some of those armbar and ball and chain tilt are also a great option as well. But I think the banana split's gonna be tough to really get against a high-level wrestler. The guillotine as well is gonna be tough to get against a high-level wrestler, because it's just very hard to get the arm way back. It's very hard if somebody banana splits me, I'm just gonna be like, and stall out if I have to, all right? And he's not doing anything, I'm not doing anything. A lot of times they just call stalemate. All right, now moving on to defense. So how do we defend a leg from the base? The general idea is get him to bad position, you stay in good position. What's bad position for him? Bad position for the top person is on his hip. So immediately when the leg comes in, because that's something that Steven was saying earlier, you have to go immediately. The longer you wait, the worse position you're gonna be in. So immediately when the leg comes in, opposite leg comes up, my elbow comes to my side to control the space, like we talked about earlier, control the space between my leg and my armpit, okay? So immediately I'm going here, ready? And I go to my elbow as well, because the goal is to create a ramp going over my forward left shoulder. Create a ramp. Not necessarily here, but forward and to the side. Not just directly to the side, forward and to the side. So this is just the motion I'm doing. I guess I'm here, the leg comes in, I'm just going like this, ready? Head is staying up so I don't get cradled like we talked about. So I'm aware of that cradle. That's the main thing I gotta really watch out for. But this getting here quickly is very important, because if my opponent gets the boot in and I go here and the second boot comes in, or yeah, I will say he's able to control that space there, you're in a lot of trouble, okay? But if I can seal off here, even if he has like a, yeah, especially on the outside, like if he's stuck here, I'm good. There's no shot you shouldn't be able to get out of this position. Now, if he's arms in the inside here for some reason, okay, I might have to work a little bit harder. But if he goes outside of my armpit, I get here. I mean, if you can't reverse person here, you got some problems, all right? And especially when I go to here, boom. Then all I have to do is just come here. Now I get my reversal there. I know this is something you like a lot, so I guess you want to go to the defense to...
Yeah, so again, keep the concepts. Obviously, you want to learn these specific techniques, but you want to think about these concepts as you're wrestling, because you might have to make small adjustments. The goal is to get him to bad position while we stay in good position. I typically, again, if I get caught, so go ahead and like bump, he throws the leg in. I got caught in that situation. You know, that was not on my terms. He threw the leg in, I wasn't ready for it. Now we're going to our defense where we get him to his hip. I like to add a little bit of like a knee slide, so I'll go forward with my left knee and then go into it here and kind of wrestle me with a little bit. I'm trying to seal off. He's like, think of the battles that I have won right now. The battle I won is I got him on his hip. The battle he has that he's winning is he's got control inside this space some. He still kind of has his leg in. And so there's typically 3 things I'm looking to do from here. Attack this hand and clear out, win that battle. Getting my elbow or my hand across his body. Elbow. A lot of times on a good wrestler, it's elbow first, but elbow or hand across the body, I can win that battle. Or I'm winning the battle of attacking this so he can't scoop behind. So I'm attacking the hand, attacking the elbow, pinning it to the mat so I can create the space and then go head to the opposite side. If I was to choose, which I typically like to take the approach of being offensive on bottom here, I like to have my leg up. So like this is where it's probably going to happen the most. So go ahead, get on top a little bit here. So I'm wrestling and I literally do this. See how I open my hip? I literally was like, please throw a leg in. The reason I like this is I knew he was going to throw a leg in because I provided the opportunity, and I have the height with this leg so that when I do go to that same technique, I have a lot more momentum. So now when I swing this knee down and the other one comes up, I have much better momentum here. We're in the same position, but realistically, when I hit this, I have a better chance of getting him here and being able to wrestle, whether I get my body across quickly, drive in and finish, or whether I start to choose which battle to fight, the hand, which hand. Now, where I think people run into issues is they'll get to this position and they'll start to like drive in. If I just drive in with my shoulder and my back, if I drive into him here, he hides around me, and now he'll work back on top, and I'll get caught here. So think of it similar to like I'm in a high crotch, this crackdown position. I need to know, when do I pressure in to put him in danger? When do I back out to create space and score? So it's the same idea here. It's both a battle of pressuring in, like maybe I attack the hand or maybe I bump with my shoulder, but then knowing like, okay, I need to create some space so I can score. So I'm backing out, I'm getting low to find space for my hand to come across, my head to come across, and wrestle there. I think the best way to improve in this technique is going to be practicing reversal for reversal. So you make it a continuous drill. You don't do 1 rep and stop. You make it a continuous drill, and you're really relating opening that hip, like baiting him to throw the leg in. He throws the leg in, you go for reversal. Don't do this. Please don't do this though. Don't bait this, because he's gonna go cradle. Right? I don't want to be here and go, oh, I'm baiting him to throw. He's gonna go cradle there. That could be match over. Whatever side he's on, that's the side I bait. And so this is kind of how the drill will look. We'll go nice and slow to start, but I'm wrestling here. Again, I'm winning the battle. Like I'm winning the battle here. I open up to trick him to throw a leg in. I swing him down. Pressure, back out, head comes across. Now I let him belly out. I let him base up. And he'll do the same. He's baiting me to throw that leg in. He's wrestling through this position. It doesn't necessarily have to be a hard drill. Keep going. I work up. I'm practicing sealing. Like I'm not just working here. I'm practicing sealing first. I open up. I'm really, in my mind, getting these reps like I'm baiting him to throw the leg in. So every time you step this leg up, you'll know, hey, a leg might come in here. Rotating him down. Little pressure in, backing out. Pressure in, back out. May take a couple times. Get my reversal. He comes up. Here, he opens. There it is. He's getting in my hip, and he's scoring. Start out super light, helping each other to build confidence in that position. You know, you'll see a lot of guys drilling and almost being like a try-hard, where they're just top guys just going live. Like this is not if you're not good at leg counters, don't go live from this right away. Start with a nice light drill. If anything, helping the guy. Like help the bottom guy get these techniques right so you guys can build onto it. As you get better and better, top guy can wrestle a little harder, can start adding some extra little detail to his technique. But for now, the first couple of reps, you're literally just falling to your hip, letting it happen. As you get more experience, you feel comfortable there, the drill might look a little more like this. We'll kind of go a little bit harder. The drill might look a little more like this. He's here, I'm staying in. See how I'm trying to, yep, he needs to keep going. And he gets the reversal, I'm bailing out. I'm sealing off, I'm opening up. I may get him to his hip, but he's still wrestling me here, right? If I pressure in, he hips up, right? So I'm not pressuring, I'm staying here. I'm creating some space, scoot behind a little bit. He scoots behind a little bit, create space, elbow across, then the body comes across. And so when you first start out, really help your partner to get it right. Don't try and be like, oh, he made a little mistake and I'm gonna let him know he made a mistake by ripping his shoulder off or going cradle. Force your partner to do it right. Think of it like that. Like when you're first learning, force your partner to do these techniques right. Fall off for them. As you get more reps, start picking the intensity up. The top guy's wrestling harder. He's staying on a little bit longer. But start off by building the right habits as opposed to the guy's going live right off the rip. And you're building bad habits by getting frustrated, pressuring in wrong, and not getting the reversal. So get a lot of good reps in. Build the intensity as you go, and you'll find that this can be one of the best options for getting out on bottom because, one, you're gonna run into a leg rider, and two, even if, let's say I don't ride legs at all, and Ebed wrestles, and he does that quad pod stand-up, like naturally, like I don't ride legs, but I might be like, oh, the leg just kind of fell into place. And that's the best time. Like if you wrestle someone who's not a leg rider and they, like what Ed was saying earlier, guys are like, oh, well, I don't ride legs, but 30 seconds left, I'll throw a leg. And you're like, what kind of nonsense is that? You'll find just out of habit, like a leg rider, just the position's there and he goes for it, even though that's not really where he likes to be. So practice these. Again, first, we're focused on let's prevent legs, let's not get turned. As you build the skill, you can wrestle offensively on bottom in a way where you're like, I am tricking this guy to go throw a leg in. Like, I really want him to throw a leg in so I can put him in danger. And I'll go ahead and like don't throw a leg in. I'll kind of show you what it might look like as you get up. So he's not throwing a leg in, right? He's not throwing, I'm open up, he's not throwing a leg. I step into it and I look for my reversal. So depending on your skill level, you may start with the idea of, okay, I'm going through this video, I'm learning these techniques so that I can prevent legs. Then it becomes, okay, I'm just trying not to get turned. Then it becomes, I'm trying to get an escape. Now I'm looking for a reversal. Now I'm literally wrestling in a way where I'm like, I'm not even getting up. I'm literally doing this. Like I'm forcing that leg in. Because it's very, very, if you get good at this, you have such an advantage on bottom, putting this guy in positions he's not familiar with and he doesn't feel comfortable with. And if he panics, man, you're looking for that pin there. This could be the game changer. And then the other time I would say this would be really important is if you're better on top than you are on your feet, like top's your best position, it may not be in your best interest points-wise to get onto to get out. So use these for reversals to give yourself another chance on top as well.
Yeah, and if you get put in this position, so if I'm a leg rider and I get knocked to my hip here, very common problem people do is they're trying to hold on for dear life. You know, you see a lot of power has from here, just hooking the shoulder, just hugging for dear life. Realize you're not in a great position right now, right? I'm in a horrible position, about to get reversed. Now watch this. If I switch my mindset from I'm on top to I'm in neutral, and I go from trying to stay on top to trying to scoring a takedown, it goes from literally a horrible position to a good position. Here's what I mean, right? If my mindset is this, I'm on top, and I've got to hold on for dear life. I'm in bad position, I'm on my hip, right? Now, say the situation has changed. We're in neutral. Well, if we're in neutral, man, I'm in a great position. I'm about to get a takedown. So you need to change your mindset from holding on for dear life to stay on top to scoring a takedown. Even though you've already scored a takedown, I go from this position to going to the crackdown position. I've already beat his shoulder. Like, I've beat his whole arm. He doesn't even have a high crotch on me. I lock in between his legs, and I just start driving forwards and scooching back on top. It's very easy to stay on top if you do that, but what happens is people go, like they're so focused on just holding on for dear life that not only do they get reversed, they give up back points as well. So, because we're going to go, next thing we're going to go is to kind of dealing with this from the hip position. But I do want to talk about one little detail that Steven did. When he goes to hip me down, he sits his butt back on his heels. So watch what his lower body's doing. Once he goes and hits me to my hip here, he goes back to there. See him recoil? If he stays up, what will happen is he's going to end up falling to his hip here, which Steven doesn't want to be in. We're going to talk about how to deal with it when this happens, but Steven doesn't want to be here. So that kind of recoil where he hits me to here and then bounces his back. Now here it's kind of hard, much harder to lock in between his legs and get my hands locked to go and sit the corner again. So that's, again, a little, I guess, both sides of the coin, right? If I get hit to my hip, I'm going for that crackdown position. But then, again, what would he be trying to do to defend that crackdown and defend me from pulling him to his hip, okay? Now, moving on to how do we deal with it? How do we wrestle from our hip with a leg in? First, we'll go over the offensive part like we were doing. So my partner, we end up in this hip position. Here's some of the things I'm doing. In general, I'm hiding behind him. Steven wants me out in front of him here so he can get his reversal. I want to be behind his hips. Behind, behind, behind. And what you'll notice is this is another reason why the short boot is so good. If my foot is wrapped, I stay in this position, and it's not the best for me. But if I go behind him, watch how my foot shortens. It goes shorter, okay? Some of the other things I'm looking for, I might even grab my own ankle here. Locking hands is illegal in wrestling, right? This is illegal. You want to know what else is just as good? This, but it's not illegal. So I'm essentially locking hands on him, putting a full loop around his body, but it's allowed. Love this position. Now you won't be able to turn from here, but it is very tough for them to get out, especially if you scooch behind. Other little details with scooching behind, I normally post on the back of his elbow so that he cannot turn into me. All right? So I'm doing that. Scooch a little more here. Another thing I'm doing, especially when I start going back points, which I'm going to talk about in a second, how do I score from here? So all I was talking about was just staying behind him. All right, so he brings me to my hip. I might grab my own ankle, scooch. I might post on the leg, scooch, and I'm going to scooch as much as possible. The reason being is when I go to transition from just riding on top from this position to turning him, I need enough space for me to pull him back onto his back. If I'm here and I try to pull him back, I am not in a position where I'm going to get back points. But if I first scooch, whether I'm grabbing my own ankle, grabbing a shoulder, doesn't really matter, or posting on his elbow, once I scooch and get my chest away from him, I then can pull him back to this space. Couple options you have, you can come up and go side headlock, pull back. You can just keep the shoulder and go one-on-one and pull back. You can go half. Another thing I really like to do that Lezak, who was a national finalist, showed me, take your free leg and throw it up to his chest and grab your own shin. I don't know if you feel that, but it's like really hard to get out of. It's hard to sit up. So those are my general things I'm looking for. I also, if I feel I can, I will take him to the other side as well. So in general, which we're going to talk about leg reversals from here in a second, Steven wants to stay on the side that the leg is on. So if the leg is in here, he wants the bottom leg in. So he wants to stay on this hip. If I can, I want to pull him over where my top leg is in, because it's very easy to turn from here. Because any other thoughts in that position as far as offensive, where you're going to be at?
Yeah. I think the main thing to take away, that little one where you threw the leg on the chest was sneaky. I've never seen that. That was sneaky. The one thing I'm going to try and do here, so when I get this leg in, when I start to sense him pulling me down, I have to immediately hide behind him. And let's say he got me in good position, so come up like you here. I mean, this is like, out of all positions, like I'm in a mess here. I like to control low on the pocket. So as opposed to grabbing and hooking shoulders where it's easier for me to slide off and go ahead and create some space. So he creates space there. I like to control the pocket, posting this backhand either on the mat or blocking the elbow depending on what he's looking to do. And I'm hiding in that circle. I can also take my knee under his hip because he's trying to sit back. He's trying to sit back on the ankles. If I put my knee under his hip here, go ahead and sit back, It buys me a little time. Now, if I just put it there and do nothing, he might swivel around it and keep wrestling there. So I get caught on my hip. I hold the pocket, posting that leg behind, but most importantly, I'm hiding behind him. I'm rotating, and I might even go like way back to rotate my knee. From here, I can either pull the hip down, wrestle from the position Evan was just wrestling from, or if I hide behind him enough, I can start to drive into him off my leg and my hip. Again, when you do this, don't go up into bad position. Drive straight through him, either get him flat or drive straight through and take that leg out, depending on the positioning or how comfortable you feel there. So I'll do one more. All right, throw the boot in. Maybe I got greedy, hit me down. Here, I post, hiding. That leg is almost coming out. Like, I'm really trying to get this leg way up. Attack this if you want. Rotate, drive up, now I have a good leg in. From this position, again, like Evan said, you can grab the ankles. If he grabs my ankle, perfect. This helps me here. So if he grabs and pulls that leg tight, not a problem. It helps me hide behind him, and I'm perfectly fine. I would say, aside from technique, where your mind needs to go, like Eben said, you're not in good position. Whether you're thinking, okay, let's pretend he's in on an attack, I'm scrambling out. You definitely want to make sure you're not panicked. So if you know what to do here and you get put in that position, you don't panic. Most guys, like we talked about in the beginning, most guys who wrestle and ride legs don't really know all the fine details. So you can get leg reversals on guys who ride legs if you understand this. And the same the other way around, like most people don't know leg counters. So they might get you to their hip, but then if they make a small mistake, you're perfectly fine. So when you get to these positions, whether you're the offensive or the defensive guy here, do not panic. Like, don't freeze either, but take your time and really fight the small positions. Don't just give up when you're on your hip, or don't give up if you get him to his hip and don't score immediately. This position may take 10 seconds to play out, no matter, depending on who's scoring here, but you cannot be panicked when you get put to your hip. Like, if you're a leg rider, these positions are gonna happen. You've got to get comfortable in these positions and not panic and find your way back to a good position.
Yeah. So now, how do we defend this position when we're on our hip? And a lot of times, like, I might have to even force him to his hip. So this happened to me a lot. Like, I would wrestle these good wrestlers. They would use their foot to stop me from hipping them down, and I wouldn't be able to hip them down, okay, without falling to my own hip. So now if I'm in this case, I'm going to go all the way to my hip, and I'm going to wrestle from here. The only thing I have to do is beat this arm. It's either this arm, or if he ends up throwing a second boot in, it's the boot and the arm. Once I do this, I get the reversal, okay? This is secondary, like you can mess with that. That's not helpful though. This doesn't really matter too much. This is what matters, okay? The bottom foot matters a little bit, but like, what I mean is if I can deal with this, all right, there's nothing stopping. All I have to do is this, ready? And there's no shot he's gonna be able to stay on top. All right, I'll just back out and get the reversal there. Now, it's normally hard to kind of block and go here. Sometimes you can, but I'm normally just fighting my elbow into this position, but my knee's staying up high. Some other things I'm really focusing on is I'm sitting not only to my hip, but forwards. I don't want to get cradled, but you won't really get cradled from here because he's not behind you enough. Like if he goes for a cradle here, his lock will be where my knee is, so that won't really matter. So I can be in a tight ball here, blocking my face, keeping this space clear. Now from here you have two options. I just showed going up to my knees, which is by far the best one, or you go crackdown. The reason why I don't like forcing crackdown as much as the coming up just like this is crackdown is, now you have to score the crackdown, right? If I go to crackdown, now I have to wrestle here and score here. And he just has to stalemate it in order for him to not even get an escape. So I prefer beating this, and then all I do is go back up to my shin. I don't go to both knees. Big mistake, going to both knees. Don't go to both knees. Keep that ramp I talked about earlier with your back. Go up to your right foot and your left knee here. And face him as much as possible. You notice like my hips are going to the camera. It's going around as much as possible. I'll come all the way to here if I can. Because I know the more I face him, the easier the escape is. Okay? Another thing I'm doing. I'm gonna use my right hand, after I seal, I'm gonna use my right hand to push anything off. Sometimes the leg will come up, so I might have to push that. Sometimes they'll be grabbing like my hamstring and I'll be pushing that, but I'm pushing everything off, so my right hand tends to like stay back here until I get up and I can get that reversal.
You get back in there one more time. And again, like I said, a lot of times the guys who are good at leg counters ride legs because that really helps them understand both sides of it. So keep this in mind. Like if you learn just the offense, it will help you with the defensive side of it. If you learn just the defense, it'll help you with the offensive side of it. So what we said earlier is I might be trying to attack this hip and really scoot and hide behind. What he's trying to do is isolate that position here so I can't control the hips. And then while I'm trying to scoot around, he's swinging up in the opposite direction to create that space. And so this is where it becomes a battle. If both guys are good in this position, you may not know who wins, but the same things I'm looking for, he's directly defending. So I'm trying to control the hip, he's trying to defend that. I'm trying to scoot behind, he's trying to create some space. So all the concepts are exactly the same. And if you're getting stuck, you're like, oh, I'm a good leg rider. Like I know a lot of these leg riding, but I panic when a guy throws a leg in. Just think about like, okay, when I throw legs in, what's uncomfortable for me? Like where do I not like to be? And then you put that guy to these positions. So all the way through, whether it's preventing legs or leg counters or getting to the, getting offensive on bottom and opening up and baiting him, we're fighting the same battles. And it becomes a matter of who's winning those battles in these positions. And there's different techniques aside from what we're just showing too, but it's a battle of positioning here. And if he doesn't panic, he's probably going to score in that position if he seals out. If he does panic, I'm probably going to be able to score or get back on top.
Yeah, and quickly I just want to touch on two other things about defending this position. If you want to go this route, personally, what I showed right there is the best, you think, of countering, getting back to your base and having them slip off that shoulder. The crackdown is one option, and then sitting to their butt and doing the hip heist stuff is another option, the spidering type stuff. I've never shown it in my video, so I do want to touch on it real quick. But let me first talk about this one key. I'll have Steven kind of walk through it, but bring me to my hip here. If you want to go the crackdown option, normally I will attack this leg. So if you guys decide, hey, I want to go this crackdown option, I'm going to get the leg out, and then I'm going to force that crackdown position. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll use my own foot if I need to as well, because if he has like your shoulder locked, you can even hook your foot out. But I'm isolating that leg to force crackdown after, okay? So if you guys like that method, you're going to go there. Second thing, just a little side note, I don't know if I had this in my leg riding video. If anybody ever goes banana split, okay, I use my foot just like Steven just did to take this off, and then I attack towards the head. And that's just a little side note there. But I guess
perfect.
You have any thoughts on that or the other? Cinder butt position?
Yeah, when you wrestle this position, again, you may not have enough time to get good at everything right now. You want to know them all, but you want to really specialize in something for leg counters. If you're somebody who's very good in that high crouch position, go to it. And you may even find like, I'm slipping this out, I'm sliding down, I'm getting to my lefty high crotch. That's where it gets difficult, is because I am in a lefty high crotch here. If you don't love that position, maybe you're doing this, right? That leg's in, I go here, and I'm sliding down to both cheeks, and I'm going to a righty high crotch. I'm going here. Back out and score, however you score from that high crotch position. But you got to know yourself as a wrestler, and obviously develops these, but find out where are you good. If you're good in the high crotch, fine, go there. If you're not good in the high crotch, like if I'm not good in the high crotch and I'm going to a lefty high crotch, I'm really not, I'm not playing to my strengths. So understand where you're good, find a way to get to your strengths. And you may find like this guy's really good at leg riding. You may take this as a win, just being like, I'm here and I'm coming back up. Even if he stays on top, you might take that as a win because you were in a whole lot of mess with his legs, and now the leg's out and you feel comfortable wrestling there.
Now moving on to having a leg in when your partner or your opponent is flat on their stomach. There's really two concepts that I think are super, super important. We will go over a couple little turns as well, but the two main concepts when I have a leg in and my opponent is flat is I want my knee pointed out as well as have my leg as high up into their hip as possible. So I guess turn this way. Yeah, that's good. All right. So if I throw my leg in here, I want my knee out, so my knee pointed as a post. It's a very short post, but it's a post that stops me from being able to get hip down to the side. So I bring my knee out, almost like I'm sprawling, to prevent myself from getting hip down to that hip over here. So that's key point number 1. Key point number 2, I want my leg as high up in the hip as possible. Very common for kids to throw the leg in, and they're almost at the knee or a little bit above. If you're below the knee, you don't even have a leg in at that point. Really, I would say a leg in is being above the knee. And if you're right where the knee is, all they have to do is scooch forward just a hair, and they're free. So focus on those 2 things. There's a couple different ways people will ride from this position. I go figure 4 with my knee in between the legs, so I guess turn this way. I go here, so I ride with my knee, and I normally go on my toe, and my toe is normally the only thing touching the mat. I've also seen people go more on the ankle, so they cross their ankles, and their knee goes to the hip, and it almost works as a pivot point to be able to rotate their hips over. So those are the 2 most common ones I see. Again, either back of the knee, knee in between, up on your toe to create pressure here, or ankles with your knee on the outside, which acts as a block to be able to rotate the hip up. Okay.
Some people will snake the leg. I'll show you this. Go flat here. Rotate this way. So some people will snake the leg where they hook with the shoe here. Again, still keeping the knee wide. This is good as well. It just depends on what you feel comfortable doing. Eben goes figure 4. I think a figure 4 is the best way, especially if you're on the taller side. You get a lot of leverage. Snaking the ankle can be good maybe if you're on the shorter side. You can't get that figure 4. Gaining some control. This, you'll find, will make your leg a little more tired. I do the one where you cross the ankles, putting that knee kind of on the opposite hip. All 3 of those can work, and you may find that you kind of switch between some of them. But I think if you're on the taller side, that figure 4 will give you a lot more leverage than any of the other ones.
Yeah, and I'll just quickly go over the 3 general turns from here. So the 3 turns that people are really looking for, well, probably more than that, but the first one they're looking for is a hip whip. I call it figure 4, crossface, football turn, some of my younger kids call it. But we have our legs in this figure 4 position or the knee on the outside with the ankles crossed. I'm on my toes, I'm taking a big jump, and I'm turning his hips first. That's where most people struggle with, is they're trying to turn the head and the hips at the same time. But when you hug the head, it keeps your hip or your knee on the mat. Like, it's hard to jump them both together. What you want to do actually is jump off your toe and fall to this hip over here like this. And you want to open your knee up to turn the hip. Now, as this is happening, you'll attack the head. But if you have the head first and you try to jump together, you don't have enough momentum to really get the turn. So I suggest going kind of hips first, diving, sprawling your hips in. My hip hits the mat here as my knee opens up. Then I take the head and bring it over this way. Now, in general, I'm going to turn his face into me because you're trying to pin the person. So he has his shoulder up. My goal is to pin him, right? So I'm trying to turn his face, get that opposite shoulder down. I'll even bring my chest up if I have to get the pin here. Another thing you want to be careful of that most kids make mistakes on is either post on your elbow or your hand. Don't have your other arm underneath here because a lot of times you can get turned in and reversed here. Okay, so that's turn number 1. I think Steven will make some points on that in a second too as well. It's one of his favorite turns. He has some details there. Turn number 2, essentially if you can't bring them this way, we can pull them the other way. So maybe I try to turn this way. I can either go bar and take my thumb, point it kind of upwards, pull him back this way. I can even go underneath, grab his chest and pull him back. It's all the same stuff, but I'm pulling him back the opposite way as my second boot comes in. If he doesn't post, you can also just do a side headlock. So I'm riding here, I unhook my feet, foot steps up, I go side headlock, I pull him up to my chest, fall back in that direction. So I'm pulling him back on top of me. Those are the 3 I'm generally seeing. There's other stuff like reverse crossface stuff, but I think the best is figure 4. The bar stuff really works well with it, because a lot of times if I go for my hip whip, he'll post his hand to resist, and then I can kind of scoop the bar, come back, and I normally come up to the head here. Any thoughts on those 3 turns or any other turn you like from the flat position?
I'll run through my series pretty quick. Very, very similar. This is the series I run. So I get my leg in, and I won't always run it exactly in this order, but these are my options. Hip whip, turn the hips, collect the head. When I'm looking for the pin, I rotate like a windshield wiper. I rotate and I push his head down, keeping a lot of height, not just height with the hand, but my stomach up. I don't want to be collapsed here. Do almost like a crunch, bringing my ribs connected to his, giving him no space. Okay, so that's the hip whip. The second one I do is a wrong side power half. So after the hip whip, see how I trap that bottom arm? So I'm never letting him fully recover. Wrong side power half, stick the knuckles to the mat, and I'll usually just hold for the backs here. You can step out for the pin if you'd like. Some guys keep the leg in. So the third one is going to be power half to the right side, and this will come like I'm trying to hip whip and he really is posting here. I'm trying to hip whip, it's not there. Power half this side. Stick the knuckles to the mat, pick the chest up, isolate and hold. You can get the backs here. If the guy's shoulders are really flexible, so like some guys have flexible shoulders and the ref will call it potentially dangerous. In that situation, rotate a little bit here. I get here, grab his wrist, re-grab your own wrist, then you stick your knuckles to the mat. This one is a must, being able to do this reinforced power half if you ride legs, because some guys have flexible shoulders and the ref will call potentially dangerous. Stick the knuckles, you can't get the turn, collect the wrist, re-grab your own wrist. And you can do this one from either side. The next one I go to, so I'm gonna hip whip here, I'm gonna back hook. See here, I'm gonna back hook as he belly out, go to belly out. I'm gonna back hook, I'm gonna take the weight off of him. As he comes up, I go side headlock here, pull him back, get the turn. He's gonna bridge into me, he bridges in, I kick the leg out, finish on top. Great option to be going back to that power half there. And then I also do the one that Eben does with the bar. I do the side headlock on the opposite side of him. So I typically will turn the hips and go side headlock here. And sometimes I'll bring my knee up almost like I'm letting him up. Like pushing his head down, he comes up, side headlock, pull back to finish. There are a lot of other turns you can do where you're going bars, bar wrist. Depending on where you feel comfortable, you can add some. I'll show one more. I didn't really do this one a lot, but it's a great technique. So I go bar, and let's say I step up, I'm looking for that chin. Maybe the chin's not there. You can go one-on-one, roll it under his chest, keeping his elbow tight in, grab your own forearm, drive forward, fall off to the side with that second boot in. He's gonna typically bridge and turn into you. Again, kicking that bottom leg straight out, hit back on top. Now I have the opposite boot in. So if you're gonna ride a leg in from flat, if I was to pick the best one, I think is gonna be hip whip. And then depending on where you feel comfortable, maybe a power half for the second one. You just gotta be real careful. Like you can throw a power half if the guy's flat from one leg in, but you're not doing that from base. You're not going one leg in with a power half from base. From flat, it's acceptable. But I would say like the hip whip is probably gonna be your best technique. And even if it's not working, it'll open up everything else. If you don't go hip whip, it's very difficult to do anything. Like the guy will just stall. So if I get the leg in, this bottom guy just kind of covers his face and stalls here. And especially at a lower level, the refs don't like to hit this guy for stalling for whatever reason. Probably because my leg's in, it's kind of hard for him to do much anyway. So normally they do not call the bottom guy for stalling, especially not the first time. So if I ever get to a position where this guy is stalling, don't get frustrated and just go like this and like look at the ref, because usually the ref doesn't care. What you're gonna do instead is work his face. So I'm gonna stay busy with my hands. I'm looking for the hip, I'm turning the hips, and if he reaches at all with this hand to like counterbalance, get under his face. You cannot, obviously I'm not punching his face, you can't do that. It's more about working to lift his face up. And I like to go that thumb knuckle underneath his nose or his cheekbone. The nose is the best. You get his eyes to water a little bit. I'm lifting up, turning the hips, and feeding, and then making sure I get some height here. So if you're a leg rider, hip whip's probably gonna be your best technique, combined with working his face. Stay really busy so the ref doesn't call for stalemate, he calls for stalling instead. And you keep working his face until he opens up. So like you'll see a lot of this, like get a leg in. And just go ahead and kind of work on my face. So I'm here, he's lifting, and you'll see guys do this, push up, or they'll go to attack the hands. And in this case, I've opened up myself to maybe a half, a power half, or go ahead and go again. Maybe I'm doing this, I'm off to the side, you go hip whip. You turn the hips, catch the head. So you've got to stay busy with your hands as a leg rider. And then hip whip, power half. If you like bars, go bars. If you like other techniques, you can add those in as well. But constant pressure, work the face, and it may take 3 or 4 times, 5, even 6 attempts to get that turn. But once the guy goes, points will come in bunches. Like you'll get a turn, he bellies out, you get another turn. He bellies out, you get another turn. Next thing you know, it's a tech fall.
Yeah, and just some general things. Highest level people, you'll turn them from flat. So if you're a leg rider, generally, if you get the leg in from the base, you break them flat, you turn them. So most of your options in turning the best guys are from that flat position. The defense, I'm not even going to talk too much about it. I'm just going to say 2 little things. What's the person's goal? Keep his knee wide and don't slide too low on the legs. So all I'm going to do is try to work that as I'm in this flat position. So I'm either going to try to hip him down really hard. So I'm here. I'm going to take my opposite leg up and try to hip him to this position. And then we do with all those reversals we just talked about. So you're either going to hip him down, or you're going to try to turn you'll turn your hip down and more knee slide and just crawl forward. If you get far enough forward, there's nothing he can do. And especially if I get my knee all the way through, then I'm fully out of the legs. I guess if you have any thoughts on that. But
yeah, those would be the 2 main ones when you're flat. I'll go over a couple of the things that happen reaction-based. So this is not really when the guy's looking for reversals, per se. This is more how the guy's fighting on bottom, which ways he might be turning as you attempt to score backs. Most of this will come off of the hip whip. And I kind of went over it quickly, but here's the idea, right? I have this leg in. He might be posting out here, okay? I'm looking to get the hip whip. If this hand stays posted, very hard to get it. I can go bars. I can also attack the hand, straighten it. The post is gone. Look for my turn. Comes back. If it's out wide, I can also pull it down to the pocket. Still look for that same turn. Same hip whip. Now, once I do go hip whip, he really has 2 directions he can turn. So I go hip whip. He's first typically going to fight away from me. So he's reaching and fighting away from me. I scoop under the head. I'm scooting away from him, keeping some height. I'm not laying on my side here, keeping some height and pulling the head into me to make sure I get my backs first. Okay? So I go to hit this hip whip. He go ahead and kind of fight a little bit. I'm turning. I maybe block the elbow. I turn the hips. I scoop the head. I can hook the shoulder and flare it out. Don't try to bring his head to his leg. I'm not trying to bend his spine directly back, because even if I start moving his head, I still don't have the back points. I want to get this shoulder down to the mat so I can score, and I can hook that shoulder, flare it out. I can hook like a football and work myself, kind of keep fighting a little bit there, work myself away. I can flare for that windshield wiper. Now, typically they're going to fight away first. So he's fighting away. Once he knows he's going, they'll fight into you. And I want to keep some height, so if he turns into me, I lift my chest up, keep turning, and I catch a Turk here. And if he turns back the other way, lift my chest up, catch it this way. So I want to make sure I have that height to be able to wrestle with that position. If I'm collapsed here and he turns in, he can bridge up on top of you, and a lot of times guys will panic here and belly out. You don't have to belly out there if you know how to wrestle in that position. So guys will fight away, and then they'll fight in. Normally, you'll get the turn when they fight in. So typically what happens is you can't get the turn. I've tried this 4 or 5 times. I'm working his face. Eventually the guy goes, oh, I'm going to try and go with it. He goes with it, 1, 2, and you're getting your set of backs. And sometimes you'll keep them just here. You know, sometimes you'll keep them just here and get the backs. But if he turns in really hard, pick the chest up, switch your hands. Now I have the Turk. And on a Turk, I don't lift the leg like this. I stack the hips. Stack the hips on top of them. Okay? If I get fully caught, so let's say I'm in this situation, maybe I'm working his face extra, and I start to pull him, and I get caught here. Don't bail out. This is not a time I need to necessarily panic. Keep control of the head. I can kick the leg out, finish here, or if he turns in, I can pull the head up to extend him some all the way through, grab the ribs or the pocket, post, hide behind him, get back on top. I'll show that one again because it's not a time you need to panic. If you can flow through this position, you'll be okay. So I get the leg in, I go, maybe I'm collapsed in position, he turns in, pull like you're extending his spine. He turns into me, I pull, I want to kick the leg if I can, but I go all the way through, my hands switch to the ribs. Do not go power half here. Do not go power half. If he's a good wrestler, he'll get out of that. Control the ribs, let him come up a little bit more, build the height, hide behind and in a circle with my knee flaring back out. Now I can get back on top and wrestle through that position. So really, on the defensive side of things, there's sliding your leg free, get him to his hip. And then there's on the side of, as you go for the turn, how the guy will fight, and being able to stay in good position so you can secure a set of backs and then get to good position to go for another set of backs after that. That again, if you don't panic, you can be okay in those positions. Don't bail out, especially in practice. Don't bail out too soon with legs, because there's a lot of ways to get out of stuff. And if you're in practice bailing out every single time you get in a little bit of trouble, when it comes time for a match, you might bail out. Now, there might be a situation where he's about to get a reversal. You may have to base out and make sure he just gets a reversal instead of a reversal and a set of backs. But in practice, stay in those positions a little bit longer to see and get a feel for how you can work out of them. And then when it comes time for a match, it won't be like the first time you've been in that position. You'll have some confidence being able to recover and finish back on top.
Yeah. Now, the last thing we're talking about is double boots. As far as offensive, so double boots are the hardest position to get out of. They don't have any options as far as scoring. I'll just go over two. You have a power half or a reverse crossface. So first of all, when I throw boots and I want to flatten him out, right when I flatten him out, he has no real option of reversing me. He can only really just get out of the leg. So I go double boots, I sprawl in. Now we're going power half. Go either side. In general, I attack a one-on-one first to get him to extend his arm out. Then I'll lock my hands together. I like being high up. Sometimes like high up on his elbow. You'll hear that a lot. Like when you do a power half, you want to be up high, right? Because you have more leverage on the arm. The lower you are, the more they can crunch their arms in. But a big thing that people don't talk about is having your chest high. So I want to have my body high. So I want to be riding high. I will try to go elbow to elbow, but I don't want to go so high that I slip off of the back of his head. So I want my chest high, elbow as high as I can, and the goal is to get the knuckles to the mat behind his head here, okay? Once I get here, a lot of times I'll unlock, or like Steven said earlier, you can grab the wrist, re-grab, right? Essentially a reinforced power half. And you're just trying to walk here, I like to stay on top normally, get my backs, and then try to finish on top. You can come underneath here and be in this position. That's not bad either. But because you don't have control of his opposite wrist, if he turns in, there's a little danger to that. It's not like I have a one-on-one underneath like this to be able to control that side. So staying on top is better if possible, just like that. Okay. Other option, if he starts building up, you can drop your hand underneath. So power half, arm swings, you grab, you lock your hands together. Normally S grip, just because it's very hard to reach. So if you have trouble reaching, S grip is the easiest one to reach. I do an S grip behind his tricep, just pulling it into him and then putting my elbow into the side of his head as I fall back to the side and hold the back points just like that. So those are the two main turns. The reality is this. This is where most injuries happen, is in a power half, double boots power half. You have to be, you know, safe on the bottom portion. So some of the things that I really want to focus on as far as the defensive side is go early. And this is for injury purposes. Like, we talked about going early with the one boot in. The faster you go to your reversals, the better chance you have of escaping. But especially with the double boot power half, because you're going to get hurt. If I'm in practice and somebody gets me flat with double boots in a power half, I may let the person pin me, because I've gotten injured there, and I think a lot of people do get injured there.
Yeah. I'll give one more point to
The turns.
the turn before we go. Where Evan mentioned when you have two boots, right? I'm looking for that one-on-one. I do not, in this case, get the one-on-one and pull it under his chest, because now I've closed him up, and it's much harder for me to go power half. I put him in a position that's easier for him to defend. So when you go one-on-one, you're extending him. You're extending that side to make it easier to turn. A couple tricks I'll do is spider crawl my fingers. So I have my knees wide. I just walk my hands forward like this. I'm not actually grabbing the wrist. I'm walking here, then I go power half. Or same the other side. Walking here, then I go power half. Also, with the way the shoulder works, okay? With the way the shoulder works, and I'll do this without my legs just to help. When you go power half, I don't want the arm so far straight out that it changes his mobility in his shoulder. I want to have the power half where the arm is extended some, but the elbow's out. And you lift the power half by turning here. When I lift here, it turns his body. When the arm goes, if you watch here, it learns, when it goes in front anymore, now the plane changes where it starts to go over, the elbow starts going over his head, and that can be difficult to turn. And that's where you're going to get the potentially dangerous. That's also where you're going to get a lot of the injuries. So if I'm going power half here, say I had my legs in, I want to stay here. So I'm elbow to elbow, so I'm here. Not necessarily with the arm super straight out, because this is where you'll get potentially dangerous. Ebba doesn't necessarily have super flexible shoulders, but some guys, this elbow will literally go all the way to the shoulder. And so if that's the case, refs are normally going to stop that. That's where you go reinforced power half. But you want to keep the shoulder almost like a fly. So here, my arms don't go back any further. When they come up, this arm can go behind the head, and some guys are much more flexible where it starts to go, and you've got the arm extended, but he doesn't turn at all. So really make sure you're isolating that shoulder and the chest, and it's more of like a pec stretch than anything else. It's not necessarily just in the shoulders. That's good on that.
All right, perfect. So now we're going to go on to defending double boots. We're going to go from the base, because we're going early. Like, if I'm wrestling here, and, normally they're not going to get double boots in when you're flat, because they don't have enough space to get their legs in. So almost every time they get double boots in, it's going to be on your base. Immediately sit to your butt. So when I go and sit all the way to my butt, I'm going to keep this hand on the mat, so I'm getting power half here, and I'm going to come to here, okay? So I'm going to show you from like a little bit of a different angle, because I guess you want to hop on. So they go double boots. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to keep my hand posted and sit up through all the way to the same side of the power half. So keep your power half. You want to wrestle here. He will pin you on this side with the half. He will not be able to do anything on this side. Now, this is exactly how the sequence goes every single time. Once you get here, they let go, they go crossface. You protect this. After you've just literally stayed here and protected that enough, you've got to take the shorter leg out. Now, I'll always go for the top one, but like if he had this leg in like too deep, for some reason, yeah, keep this one kind of short. If he had that leg in too deep, I won't be able to take that out. So at this point, I'm going to go to the other side and take this one out. But if this one ended up being short enough, I would just reach down and take that out. So they go power half. You sit to your butt to the side of the power half. Once they do that, I'm already protecting my face and staying in a tight ball. Once I've dealt with that, literally it's just taking a few seconds to just battle through that. I look at the legs. Can I take that leg out? If so, I grab it, take it out. Now we're dealing with one leg, what we already talked about. If I can't take that out, I'm going to transition all the way to the other side and take the shorter one out, and then I'm dealing with one boot in. Any thoughts on that specifically one?
Perfect. No, I think it's good for that one. I have a
From flat or something?
I have a slightly different way of doing the leg counters from two boots. And again, you can, like, this is why, like, with different coaches, they have different techniques. I have a slightly different way I do it. And again, most important here is protecting your shoulders first. So Eben kind of went where you're going high and sitting to the butt there. I do one where it's I'm extending and I'm going kind of like almost like you're getting ready for a Grammy roll. So let's say he goes power half. I go all the way to my shoulder and drive into him. So instead of going kind of a little more back towards my butt, I go shoulder really long and deep, and I roll, and then I'm driving off of my leg to push back. Now, I wrestle this position slightly different. Doesn't necessarily mean what he did is better or worse. This will come down to where you feel comfortable. In this position, I try to, as I sit him to his butt, I try to slide my butt down. I want space here. And then I'm gonna drop my head back and put him in danger with my pressure. My hands do not come up. You know, sometimes you can reach up for a pin, but my hands are not up here. They're not out like a plane. My hands are down by my pockets. Now, exactly what Eben said, when the guy gets here, he's gonna punch you in the face. He's going crossface. When he does, you turn into it and you say thank you. Don't turn away. I'm not turning away from it to avoid it. When he hits you in the face, you turn directly into it. You hip heist and you slide low. Now I'm on a double. I can drive back in, splitting the knees, looking for the set of backs here. This is something my college team, Johnson & Wales, was very, very good at. And depending on what you feel comfortable, like we had guys that would let the guy throw a leg in, bait him to throw the second boot in, and look for the pin or the reversal here. So they would literally do this. They'd throw a leg in, and the guy's riding. Let's say you're riding on one side first. They would literally do this, like, come on, throw a second leg in. They'd let the second boot in. Because when he does throw two boots in, he's a little more trapped to this position. Now they start going power half. You reach across. You drive all the way to his butt. I'm scooting down because I want space, driving back with my head to see how I'm like pretty much pinning him. You're typically not going to get the pin like right away here. You may get it, but I'm putting pressure into him to cause him to panic. He goes to hit my face. I turn in. I hip heist. Once I score, I drive right back in, look for a set of backs.
And what also will happen is, like, I guess go from like this position here. What will I do from this position? When I let go here and I go crossface, I'm gonna like scooch probably away this way.
Yeah, and maybe even take this leg out to kick.
Take this leg out.
When I bridge, you kick that leg
Yeah,
out.
so like essentially if you turn the wrong way here, you're gonna give up back points. So make sure, well, if you're low enough, it probably won't be too big of a deal. But if you turn with it, you're gonna give a back point. So make sure you turn in.
Yeah, so essentially, like, I get this guy to this position. I want to create some space. I create some space. I use my hands to make it difficult for him to shift off because he's gonna be shifting left and right. I'm using my hands, I'm using my legs, so he doesn't fully shift off. He goes to crossface, I spin into it, and then I drive in to score. Now there's one other technique. I guess maybe I lied. There's more than one other technique. There's two other things guys will do from here for leg counters. You can headhunt. You've got to be very careful. Usually guys who are super flexible can headhunt. You got to know this position well because if he shifts off just a little bit, you're going to give up a set of back points. So go double boots. He's double boots. And you could do this before he goes power half. Like, let's say he's just in the armpits. This is, in my opinion, I'd feel more comfortable going here than when a guy has a power half. But when a guy has a power half, you have to do something. Like, go power half, you have to do something. Don't have that slow death here, fighting for your life and risking being out for 6 months with a surgery. So he's here, I extend, I roll through, I'm in the same position. Now, let's say he goes crossface, and I'm just kind of holding tight, I'm holding him on his back. I can shift my head to one side, throw my hands to the other, grab the back of his head, pulling my elbows tight, looking for the defensive pin. You might get the pin, or he might take a leg out. If he takes a leg out, I can swing up, go to this head and underhook position to look for the pin. And again, I did not actually do this a lot in college, although my team was known for this. I, a lot of times, would do the one leg and block. But the guys who are good here would look for the pin. So they put a guy in panic, turn in and pin, head hunt and pin. The next one guys will do from here is exactly what Evan was showing earlier, and they'll go all the way through and back up to their base. So they'll go like this. So they'll go here, he's got a power half. I swing through, I go all the way. On my way up, taking that leg out, he comes up with me. Now I'm putting him in danger, getting my head to the other side. I'll do that one a little bit faster. This is where I would probably go because I feel much more comfortable wrestling on my base than I do looking for the pin. Although looking for the pin can be the better option depending on how you feel. So guys go like this. In, here. As I'm going through, taking that short boot out, swinging up, creating space, coming out. If the guy follows with you, sometimes he'll end up, yeah, sometimes he'll end up back on top. So let's go double boots here. Here, I swim through. Maybe I come all the way up, come up. He's wrestling, he's all the way up, taking that boot out, creating the space there. So again, in this position, you got to find out what you feel comfortable doing. If you like to scramble, if you've got really good hips, maybe you put them in danger and you're looking for the pin. If you don't feel as comfortable, maybe you're taking a little slower approach where you get them on that hip and you're taking the legs out looking for the reversals there. But this is going to be a preference in style and where you're comfortable. If you are not good, if you don't have good hips and you lose all your scrambles, please don't go to this position, right? Don't go here and wrestle this position if every time you get here, you're going to panic, just shift off, and he shifts off and gets a set of backs. So if you're going to do this, you really got to get good here, posting with the hands, pressuring with the head, creating space. Some guys will go like this and take legs out, turning it into the high crotch, but I find that that's not typically as effective as what Eben was showing where, you know, wrestling on the one hip, taking the leg out. So if you're going to do this, really spend a lot of time here. My college team probably spent, you know, at least 2 days a week where we had some time to drill these. And I had a teammate who blew his knee out in the beginning of the year, first match, and came back an All-American by doing this technique. He was very good on top, but he's very good with his leg counters, and he would do this, which was absolutely crazy. Go on your feet. He would purposely take a bad shot, let the guy spin behind. So you take a bad shot, oh no, let the guy spin behind. He'd throw a leg in. Now he's kind of wrestling me a little bit. He's wrestling. He'd open up that second boot. He'd throw the second leg in. He'd push into this position, look for the pin here. Oh, and the crossface, he'd go here and finish on top. That, in my opinion, was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Because the All-American, you know, he took second in the conference to make it out to nationals. He forfeited his last match because he didn't want to risk getting hurt. Goes out to nationals, gets on the podium by literally letting people take him down and then opening up to bait them to throw the boots in. It was absolutely insane. And so if you're really good at top, these leg counters can help you to give yourself another chance on top. But I would say most importantly, it's going to stop you from being out of wrestling for 6 months or a year if you get a shoulder surgery.
Yeah, and the biggest thing I would take away is you're forcing the position you're good at. Like, all of my leg counters are this. All of my leg counters go to there. I don't do the spider. I don't do, you know, there's other ones where people pull the leg up and kind of hip in. If you notice, like, all my things got back to the same position. That's why I like it so much, because I know how to wrestle here. Tell you the truth, I actually, like, the crackdown, so there's, like, 3 that normally happen. You'll go crack down, you'll wrestle here, and you'll do the spider position. And it's like, well, what if you could force a spider from all of them too?
Yeah.
Right? So if you really like that spider position where you're bridging in and you've spent so much time there that you know what it feels like, well, person throws one leg in, put them there. You know?
Yeah.
So you can force a position you're good at. I guess we'll touch quick on it and then we'll wrap it up. Just double boots when they're flat. Main thing is you're just trying to get one leg in. So if he has double boots on me, you know, we'll keep it pretty quick. I want to essentially find a way to get one leg in. So I might have to throw one leg up and try to split the legs. Right now I got one boot in. Now we have all the one boot reversal and defenses. I can try to crawl forwards more, which again just slides his legs lower on my knees, which doesn't allow him to have as much control of my hips. I also seen people go 2 legs to the same side like this. Okay? The benefit to this is when I come up to here, now in jiu-jitsu they can figure 4, but they can't in wrestling. So if you can get the leg all the way on the opposite hip, very hard for them to recover. So I mean, I could keep elevating here. A lot of times you can just get the reversal there. So those are the main things I'm seeing. I don't know if you have anything else on that. I mean, it's pretty much crawling forward, splitting the legs, wiggling your hips through, trying to get one leg through, and that's why, like I say, go. That's why I like double boots wrestling from the butt position, because from flat, you're at least getting ridden for 30 seconds as you try to wiggle through that position.
Some of our guys would go to the spider from there. It's just much more difficult if his knees are wide. Like, if he throws 2 boots in, some guys would push off their forearms and push, forcing that spider position. It's just much more difficult because you don't have any momentum. So on the offensive side, throwing legs in when a guy is flat is going to give you the least amount of risk with the most amount of reward. So high chance of getting turns, lower chance of getting reversed. That means for the defensive guy, if he throws a boot in on your base, higher chance of reversal and lower chance of him scoring. So I would say if you want the guy to throw a leg in, you're baiting him from base, you're opening up here. If you're a leg rider, you're much more cautious to throw legs in from the base at the wrong time. But if he's flat, throw those legs in and get to work on top. I will show one little bonus technique. This is for the guys who are offensive on bottom, okay? And this is a Western hook counter. I use this together with my leg counter. So this will be the last thing that I show here. So he has a Western hook, rotating in, armpit to armpit. Do not sit on your butt. I stay on my shoe here, pressure into him, take the leg out, and then finish. And so I'll show you how this works together with the leg counters. Let's say you just kind of don't throw a leg in, you're riding on the side a little bit. So I'm wrestling here. I go between forcing a leg in, looking for my reversal, and when I go to force the leg in, don't let me throw it in. He's not letting me throw it in. Back hook, rotate, step the leg out, and finish. And so for bottom, for leg counters, if you're trying to be offensive, you're not afraid of the guy throwing the leg in, that's where I would go. Looking for the leg and the Western counter, using the 2 together. Like, don't let me throw either of them in. And then, you can work your escape, but like, I'm trying to throw the leg and I'm back hooking, it's not working. Here, boom. And you can catch it. So you can use those together because the guy essentially rides on the side here. And when you go to force one, I step out and readjust, then you back hook. So I think leg counters are the best option for the bottom guy for reversals because you kind of trap the guy in bad position. And I think if you're new to leg riding, the safest thing to do would be just don't throw a leg in unless the guy's flat. Although you can throw it in from base, it's riskier, but if you feel comfortable, you can do that as well.